Thanks for joining us. What's your name?
Shamika Parrish-Wright.
Shamika. So I've been told you've been kind of leading, one of the leaders here.
I was going to say, we are a bunch of leaders. I'm one of the leaders, the many leaders here, yes.
Can you kind of talk about, I mean, we were about to start an interview with Hannah, and we saw the police come in commando style.
Oh, yeah.
Over a tent.
Yes.
I was talking to Hannah, like, this is nothing new for you guys, right?
Yes, and they're getting us with, the language changes, everything changes day by day. We were here the first 30 some odd days, no issues. We started staying overnight. We had tents, and then a community developed. There was a lot of houseless people here, so we stayed to support them. We had medical support, we had resources, food. We helped them from getting phones to getting signed up for benefits. We became the compassionate community that our city prides itself on when we say it's a compassionate city. And then, you know, we're here. We're keeping it right here in front of the mayor's porch. Our local jail is right there. Our city hall right there. Our courthouse is right there. All of the city government buildings are right there. So that's why we took over the park and we called it Injustice Square Park, because there hasn't been justice for Breonna Taylor. And now more murders after her, even though the LMPD didn't murder the last two people, they still are impacted because of everything that's going on and all of this, and we just asking for those officers to be fired, arrested, and prosecuted.
You know, it's unbelievable to me. This hasn't gotten enough attention.
No.
But it came out that they basically just cooked the police report. They said there was no injury, even though she died. They say no forced entry, even though a lot of witnesses say they went in with a battering ram and all this stuff. So you have, not only did they recklessly go in middle of the night to someone without a criminal, she doesn't have a criminal record.
Right.
She's an EMT.
Right.
They could have went in during the day very calmly, whatever, if they wanted to talk to her about something. Not only that, but they then lied after the fact. How many more?
Right.
How many more cases don't we know about here?
Yeah, I think all of the cases involved with those officers need to be looked at again and reevaluated, because that corruption didn't just happen with Breonna Taylor. It took Breonna Taylor's upstanding citizen relationship and being in this society for folks to be like, wow, this happened to a black woman. Because usually when black women are killed, it's not elevated to such a level. But it was not only a black woman, this is an outstanding, exceptional young woman who was doing everything right. I have daughters that are her age, you know, and so that's what brought me out here first as a mother. I also am the operations manager for the Bail Project, and I'm also co-chair of the Kentucky Alliance Against Racism and Political Repression. So all of these things and these activities that I'm doing is connected to my employment and also my professional role in the community, as well as a very personal role as a mother of 4 daughters and 2 black sons.
And can you kind of talk about that, because it doesn't get discussed enough, the fact that she's a black woman.
Yes.
And that women don't necessarily get the same attention. Obviously, there was no video in this case, but
no.
Even in other cases, it doesn't seem like black women getting killed gets the same attention.
That is exactly right. That's why me and 7 other black women got together and said, this could have been one of our daughters, this could have been one of our sons, and how can you say go home and be safe when Breonna was at home? She should have been safe, and she was killed by people sworn to protect her. So it's important that we lift this up. And when I say it's personal too, I have a dear friend, his name is Sam Dubose, who was murdered by the Cincinnati police officer Ray Tensing in 2015, right around Sandra Bland. And I was out lifting up the voices around Sandra Bland's case. My friend was murdered. I understand that officer was immediately fired. He did come back and sue. So when our mayor says, oh, they might sue us, we don't care. Show us that you're listening to the demands of the family. Show us that you're listening to the demands. You have more community people than you do that are police. Even police that are on the force know that that was wrong. Even people who work in city government know that what happened to Breonna Taylor was wrong. What happened is the mother drove around for over 7 hours looking for her daughter. And when she got back to her apartment after searching for her daughter, they wouldn't let her in, and the first thing they asked her was did Kenneth and her daughter have any domestic issues? So they knew that they had already murdered her. They knew she was laying in there dead, and they're still trying to push the blame away from themselves. They're still trying to say that they have issues. No, you know you murdered her. The total disrespect. and it being a black woman, it infuriated all of us. But you're exactly right. A lot of these kinds of cases don't make the news. There's Rakisha McBride. There's so many names of black women. So that's why we say their names, say her name, lift their names up. But black men, we know that they die at the hands of the police. We don't want anyone, poor white people, brown people, Native American people, we don't want anyone dying by the hands of the police. Not unnecessarily like that.
And can you kind of talk about a little, too, this doesn't happen in a vacuum.
No.
This is an economically devastated area. It seems to me, and Breonna Taylor's lawyer is alleging, they're trying to force a lot of you out. They're trying to bulldoze a whole block. Breonna Taylor's family just added to their lawsuit a claim that her death was associated with basically the police trying to gentrify a whole block in the west side. Basically, they have left the west side of Louisville, many other areas can sympathize, to rot. How does that impact the treatment of black people here?
I like that you can pull all of that out and you're visiting and going through here. That is powerful. Exactly what you said, and I hate that that's so. I am a resident of the West End. I had children in the West End. So I definitely lived in the same community, so I know from firsthand our end of town is often neglected, often not given the resources it deserves. That's another reason why we said when this first went down, the first night when things got crazy, we got together and we said we got to do something because our youth are going to be ready to burn this city down. But we don't want them burning down the West End because we know it won't be rebuilt. It won't get the resources that it deserves. And so we wanted to bring that activity up here, not to burn it down, but we wanted to bring the activity of trying to find justice here, right in Injustice Square, and protect the West. That's the whole initiative, protect the West. We redistribute food down there. When that Kroger's was broken in by a young white man, they showed black people looting, but we know that there was white people who broke in it. There are white people on other people's Facebook lives admittedly saying, I drove down here from Shepherdsville or Shelbyville and came down here for the looting thing. But see, we also have a lot of homegrown anger our mayor doesn't want to acknowledge because police abuse and police brutality has been a problem. It's been a problem in our city. I moved here in the early 2000s. Even when I came here, there was Michael Newby that had been killed by the police. People shot in their back. People handcuffed and shot in their back. So I'm a part of Citizens Against Police Abuse, which is out of the Kentucky Alliance, but it's totally built on ending police brutality. So it's been a problem. And when you couple that with poverty, when you couple that with gentrification, when you couple that with people wanting to take over and all these land banks and land development, it's a book. The book is already written. What we're saying is we're not going to stand here and let this continue to happen. When Mike Brown was killed, many of us, same group that have helped co-organize here, went right up to Ferguson to be there in the space, not to come in as outside agitators, but to be on the ground with them and give them support. That's exactly what we're doing here. We're giving our young people, all of citizens, our houseless people, everyone's upset about this. Professionals, everyone, judges, all these people are accepted. But some of those people are in jobs where they can't stand out like we can. So that's our job to come out here and hold up this space and make sure that we get justice for Breonna Taylor.
And federally, obviously you got to do things on a local level too.
Yes.
But you got Mitch McConnell, who's basically not representing you.
No.
Obviously Charles Booker had a lot of momentum.
Yes.
We all know one polling booth for 600,000 people. The voting time, they cut it at 6 o'clock.
Over 6,000 ballots thrown away
Right.
for improper signatures. That's just, it's the corruption in our state is not just in Louisville. Louisville happens to be one of the urban places, so it gets blamed for a lot of it, but it's all over our state. And it starts with people like Mitch McConnell. And it's a lot of undoing that we have to do, which is why we were trying to get Booker there. It's our elected officials. It's a lot of grandfathering in. It's a lot of nepotism. It's a lot of issues that have been horrible for Kentucky and its citizens. And people like myself, working class people who can't catch a break. We can't catch a break, and we need dependable leadership, and we don't have that. And so people like Mitch McConnell can insulate himself and keep insulating himself and be untouchable and come to our city, do what he needs to do, and go out to somewhere else and continue to cause damage to our whole state. I don't know how people can continue to vote for him and vote against their best interests. It is sad. It's a lack of education. But sometimes when people are poor and they don't have nothing else, they hang on to these hopes and dreams from these people who don't have any intentions on seeing that through.
So let's talk about what comes next. I mean,
we're fighting on all ends.
I don't know what they're investigating.
Yes.
I don't know why it's taken that long.
Right.
You guys wanted the police department to, you know, cut funds.
Yes.
They're saying no.
Our police department got a raise. I mean,
imagine that at a time like this, with its protests around the country, the police department, instead of listening to the community, is increasing the budget.
Yes, our Metro Council voted to increase their budget, and people have to understand that the fund the police conversation has many layers. Not everyone is saying fire every police officer and do what you need to do. We're saying, why are so many funds being reallocated to people who use those funds, and there's so much misuse. We had an Explorer program that was horrible. Children were abused by police officers. We have so many examples of abuse, corruption, violation. We have a FOP that is racist, that only comes out and rears its ugly head when it's against another black woman, Councilwoman Green, Representative Attica Scott. These are the women that the FOP come out against, who are speaking up for the rights of their community, of their constituency, and it's horrible. Black Lives Matter leader Chanel Ham was attacked by them as well. They have no regard, and then they do all these photo ops and send people out here to take pictures like they're okay with this. They hate that we're here, and we know that they hate that we're here. And so we're fighting this on many levels. We can't always announce it because there's an active force working against us, but we have people who are in many different departments who are trying to look at the legislation around the immunity with the police, who we just had the no knock warrant that was led off by a beautiful sister. Her name is Katora Heron, and we just got that passed unanimously by our Metro Council. So that was a big step. But we also need those warrants to be randomly assigned, because what those officers did, they picked the weakest judge they can find to sign off on these bogus warrants. And she obviously didn't read them, and it's nothing against Judge Shaw. In my professional life, she does better around sentencing and things like that. But when it comes to taking care and not really being thorough when it comes to police, when these police submit warrants, that's a problem. So that's why we're saying that even the gentleman that that had her sign off on those warrants, he needs to be dealt with as well as our judges. So if you randomly assign, if all 4 of us was arrested and we went to court, our cases will be randomly assigned to judges. They won't. That way you can't pick them. We want those warrants to be randomly assigned. One of our pro bono attorneys, Ted Schaus, wrote an amazing article, op-ed piece about that. We want that to be one of the things that are added to the list of demands. We want the demands that the family want. They're not even being acknowledged for their hurt and their pain. Even the Minneapolis mayor came out and apologized and said that George Floyd shouldn't have died like that. You should not have to die in police interactions and police stops, at traffic stops. You shouldn't have to die in those altercations. And she shouldn't have died laying in her bed. Everything she's done, everything right, law-abiding citizen, and she dies in her sleep by those who are protecting her.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.